Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the No Weaklings Club podcast. And if you're looking for a perfectly polished, Pinterest friendly live podcast, this is not it. This is for people who cried on the night bus, texted the wrong person, dated idiots, felt lonely in a crowded bar, and still refused to give up on themselves. I am so glad you're here with me and you are listening to today's episode because today's episode is something that I think we all experienced no matter how long we are here. Well, not if you're here 5 days, but if you are here few months or years, you have definitely experienced something like this. London is a city of almost 9 million people, and every day we walk past thousands of strangers. But sometimes one of these strangers turns a completely ordinary day into something unforgettable. And today I want to tell you about some of the strangest encounters I've had in London. Moments that were funny and confusing and sometimes surprisingly meaningful. In a big city like this, most unexpected conversation can come from the most unexpected people. If you're someone who is out and about, you can see millions of people moving around constantly. Tube is packed in peak times, sometimes not even peak times. People from every culture live in this city and around this city. And the city can feel anonymous, but it also creates these little pockets of human connection you would never expect to happen. And some of my strangest London moments started in the most ordinary places, like the tube. And here comes my first story. It was one of these quiet moments during the day when the carriage isn't completely full. I was sitting there reading a book called Traction, just minding my own business, doing what a lot of people in London do, creating that little bubble around yourself where you pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. At one of the stops, this guy got into the carriage, and in my section, it was basically just the two of us with a few other people further down on the other side. He sat directly across me, and immediately I noticed him. He was tall and slim. He was wearing a white t-shirt, but what caught my attention was that the t-shirt had these marks on it that honestly looked like dried blood. Not a lot, but enough that you notice and your brain goes like, okay, that's a bit unusual. But at the same time, he was holding this huge bouquet of flowers, like really big, beautiful bouquet, the kind that you'd imagine someone brings to a special occasion, like birthday or Valentine's Day. So the whole picture was a little bit strange. He looked peaceful, but he also looked slightly nervous, like he had something important on his mind. And after a moment, I realized he kept glancing at me, not in a creepy way, more like he was trying to find the right moment to say something. And I could feel that he wanted to start conversation, but I did a very London thing, and I just kept reading my book and kept pretending that I hadn't noticed. After a few minutes, something unexpected happened. I suddenly felt a gentle tap on my knee, just slight touch with a finger. I looked up from my book and I saw him smiling at me. And the strange thing was, he looked so innocent that it instantly made me smile back. At this point, I have only been living in London for a short time, so I wasn't really sure how people normally react in situations like this. My first instinct was just to explain what I was doing, so I lifted the book a little and I said, almost awkwardly, "Oh, I'm just reading a book." He nodded and then he said something in the lines, "You're a smart one, huh? You look like a smart one. That's actually why I wanted to ask for some advice." I remember I paused a little bit and I was surprised, but I was also very curious, so I said, "Okay, I'm all ears." And then he started telling me his story. He said that day before he was supposed to go on a date with a woman he really liked. He seemed genuinely excited about it when he talked about her. But on his way to meet her, something happened. He got into a fight with another guy. He didn't really explain why, just that things escalated. And the police ended up coming. Apparently, they took him into detention overnight. So instead of going on this date that he had been looking forward to, he spent the night in a police cell. When he finally got out the next day, the first thing he did was go and buy this huge bouquet of flowers, the same bouquet that he was now holding in a tube, because he still wanted to make it up to her. So sweet. During the fight, he lost his phone, which meant he had no way to contact her, no number, no message, no explanation. So now he was on the way to see her because he knows where she lives, but he has a dilemma. He looked down at his clothes for a moment, the t-shirt that has the stains on it, and then he looked back at me and he said, "What should I do? Should I go there now looking like this, or should I go home, clean myself up, and then try to see her later?" In order to give him an answer, I asked him first some questions. I said, "Well, how well do you actually know this woman? And have you ever not shown up for a date before? Do you think she would trust you if you explained what happened?" He moved seats and came to sit right next to me instead of sitting across me, like we were now properly discussing a life decision together on the tube. He told me this was supposed to be their third date. Apparently, the first two had gone really well, and he didn't know her extremely well yet, but he liked her a lot. The only reason he even knew where she lived was because after the second date, he walked her home. He had never actually been inside her place. Then he added something that made the situation a bit more complicated. He said that he struggled with the drug use in the past, and she knew about it. He had been honest with her about it early on, and now he was worried that if he showed up late or not at all, she might think he had slipped back into that again, which, according to him, it was not a case. But from her perspective, he realized it might look that way. I also thought it might look that way. He also said he didn't use social media, and since he had lost his phone during the fight, there was literally no way for him to contact her. No message, no call, no explanation. The only way to reach to her was to knock on the door, simply knock on her door. So I thought about it for a moment, and then I told him what I would probably do. I said, if you live close enough, I think you should go home first and clean yourself up a bit and then go to see her. I pointed at his t-shirt that had like blood on it, and we both laughed. And I also said it's quite important if you go there while it's still daytime. That way it would feel less strange or uncomfortable. If you suddenly show up at her door, she would feel safer in the day. I told him he should definitely bring these flowers, apologize for not showing up the day before, and explain that he can tell her what happened. And also very important that if she doesn't want to talk to him, just don't push it, dude. Just respect that. If she's not ready to listen at the time, he should just tell her that he lost his phone during the fight, so he won't be reachable for a few days. But if she changes her mind, as soon as he gets a new number, he would still be there to explain what really happened, but she's the one who needs to reach him because he doesn't have her number anymore. Easy! He seemed really appreciative of the advice, and he said that made a lot of sense, and he would go home first, take a quick shower, change his clothes, and then go to see the lady and bring her flowers. By this time, Tube has passed few more stations, and carriage was starting to fill up, there were more people coming in and they were sitting around us. And because of the way he looked, this white t-shirt with those stains, the huge bouquet of flowers, and probably the fact that he's been talking now for a while, I started noticing people looking at us a bit strangely. You know, this quick London glances. People look at you, then they look away, then they look again. We both noticed it. He started to seem slightly annoyed by it, so he suddenly stood up, gently placed the bouquet next to my seat, and he stepped into the middle of the carriage, that space where there are these vertical poles. So he was standing in between these poles, holding each pole with each hand, one with right, one with left hand, and it looked almost like he was standing in the center of a small stage. Then out of nowhere, he just started making these strange noises. Something like, "Boo!" I can't even do it, I swear. It was not loud or aggressive, just odd. Just odd sounds that were clearly meant to draw attention. People looked at him and then immediately looked away. He glanced back at me, nodded his head slightly as if he was like, "See what I mean?" And then made another weird noise, the same noise that I've done for it. I'm not gonna do it again. And at this point, I just really couldn't help it. I started laughing. It was funny. After a moment, he came back and he sat down next to me and picked up the flowers. And then he said something that really stuck with me. He said that people and their prejudice really annoy him. The way they look at someone and immediately create a story in their head. So sometimes he said he just decides to play with it. He said if they already think I'm crazy, I might as well show them crazy. I really felt sorry for this guy. I told him I was sorry he's getting these weird looks. Also that sometimes people might not actually be thinking anything bad. They might just be curious and that's why they look. And in a place like London where everyone usually keeps to themselves, when something unusual is happening, people almost can't help themselves from looking. Around this time, he was approaching the station where he needed to get off. He said thank you, and he told me he never expected to talk to anyone about this situation, especially not on the tube. But he said something about me made him feel like I wouldn't judge him, so he decided to take the chance and ask. Then he wished me good luck with everything I was doing, and in a very confident tone, he added that he had a feeling I had a bright future ahead of me. When the train stopped and the doors opened, he stepped out onto the platform and he waved at me. He sent me a little air kiss, and just like that, he disappeared. That was it. After that, I never saw him again, and I have no idea what happened with the girls or with the flowers, and I'm really curious, and I would really like to know, because I thought of it. I thought of it more than several times. And moments like this remind me that some of the most interesting conversations in life happen with complete strangers. You sit down in tube and you become the official relationship advisor for a complete stranger. I love it. And while that guy with flowers was definitely memorable, he wasn't the only stranger who turned an ordinary London moment into something strange or different. Another, let's say, strange London moment happened in a place where you don't expect much to happen, in a big supermarket. I just walked in to buy one thing and I was thinking I'm in and out in 2 minutes. I didn't even take a basket because I was so sure I'm grabbing the item and I'm leaving. And I was standing in one of the aisles looking for what I needed when an older lady approached me. She was holding a chocolate bar in her hand and she looked slightly unsure. So she said something like, "Excuse me, could you help me with this chocolate?" At first, I thought she was asking where something was on the shelf, but no, she wanted an advice. She explained to me that she wanted to buy a chocolate for her friend who lives in a care home, and apparently her friend absolutely loves dark chocolate. The lady was standing there comparing two bars and trying to figure out which one would be better. Now, as someone who is quite passionate about the chocolate, almost as passionate as I am about this podcast, I started explaining the difference between two of them. I told her about the percentages of cocoa and the difference between sweeter dark chocolate and more bitter kinds, and which ones tend to be more popular in my opinion. And before I knew it, we were walking over the entire chocolate section together. I started showing her few options that might be good for her friend, and eventually she picked one that felt like the perfect choice. At this point, I thought this would be the end of the interaction. I expected her to thank me and go on with her shopping. But instead, she looked at me like a little puppy, cute, and said, "Actually, I forgot my glasses today. Would you mind helping me with a few more things while I'm here?" I wasn't in a rush, so I said yes. And suddenly we were doing a full supermarket tour together. We slowly walked through the aisles, and she would hand me the products and ask me to read the labels for her. Sometimes she wanted to know the ingredients, sometimes the price per gram, or sometimes she would ask me to compare two items. Every now and then she would pause and ask something that made me laugh. She would say, like, "Tell me, what would young people pick?" She was really funny. Apparently, I had somehow became her official representative of the younger generation, which was also very cute. And little by little, we filled up her basket. Eventually, she said she had everything she needed. So I asked her if she lived anywhere nearby and if she might want help carrying this shopping home because she had quite a bit now. And she said very casually, "Oh no, my husband is waiting for me in the car." The way she said it, it made me laugh immediately. So I asked her, "Wait, why is he relaxing in the car while you're doing all the work?" And she also said something very sweet now. She was a really, really sweet lady. She told me he can't walk very much anymore. So they had made a deal. His job was to drive them to the supermarket, and her job was to do the shopping. As we approached the register, she told me she wouldn't need my help anymore, like she's releasing me of the duty. She thanked me, she took the basket and went to stand in the queue like everything that had just happened was completely normal. And I walk away thinking that might have been the most random shopping trip that I ever had. In London, everyone is in a rush and everyone is busy and everyone is too wrapped up in their own lives to interact with strangers. But sometimes all it takes is a simple question about chocolate, and suddenly you're helping someone do their entire grocery shop. And honestly, those small unexpected moments are some of the nicest one that I had. Sometimes these encounters are strange and funny and quiet or small, but sometimes a completely unexpected encounter can leave a mark on your heart and remind you how fragile and complex life can be in a city like this. And just saying this now, I'm tearing up because this story. A few years ago, my ex boyfriend and I were sitting inside a tube station and we were waiting for a train. And a young girl came and sat next to us. My ex had seen her around before and he knew she was homeless. So he asked her how she was doing. She said she was okay, but added that she would feel better if she had a place to sleep that night. We asked about the shelters and hostels and anything that might help, and she told us there wasn't really a free option. If she wanted a bed, it would cost her 10 or 20 pounds. She told us she had been on the streets for a few years, and the longer she was out there, the more she had come to accept it, I guess. We were not really wealthy. I just started a minimum wage job, but we decided to give her 20 pounds. We didn't ask questions about she would spend it. We didn't care. We just wanted to help, even in a small way. And our paths split there, and we continued our way. Few months later, I ran into her again. Her name was. She immediately remembered me, and she told me how surprised she was that we were friendly to her. It didn't happen very often, and without her asking, I gave her a little change and asked if she needs clothes. I had plenty to share. Even if I didn't have much money, I have clothes. She said clothes were what she could get the easiest, but she would let me know if she realized she needs something. We then exchanged numbers, and before I left, she told me, "Don't worry, I won't bother you." That was so sweet. This girl, so sweet. And months went by, and this one evening, I got a message from. She asked me if she could ask me something, and if I wouldn't find this rude. Of course, I said yes. She explained she had just gotten her period, and it was cold, and it was raining, and she was desperate for a shower and a warm place to stay that night. Without any hesitation, I sent her some money and wished she could find somewhere cozy. I honestly cannot imagine what it would be like to live on the street in this situation or in any situation. Many months later, I ran into again at a Croatian shop. I broke up with my boyfriend and I was not going to the area often, so I couldn't see her before that. But then we ran into each other and she told me she's been going through a lot. She even had been diagnosed with a brain tumor, but thankfully she was recovering now. She had operation and things were looking better. I felt so sad for her and so hopeless, seriously, so hopeless. And this encounter was brief. She was in the rush and she was gone again. Her words kept bugging me. I just really wanted to know how she is. And a few days later, I tried to reach out, but the number I had no longer worked. And I haven't heard from her since. Often, very often, I think about. I really hope that she found her way out. And if by some miracle she's listening to this or someone who knows her, please reach out. London is a big city. You pass thousands of strangers every day, and most of the time you will never speak to them, but every so often some will cross your path in a way that stays with you, like these encounters that I had. Even though they were brief, they were just a chance to help or just to be a human, and reminded me that even small gestures can matter, and that in a city of millions we can still touch someone's life in the ways we'll never fully understand. I had to stop recording for a bit just to wipe my eyes and my nose because this always makes me emotional. Thinking about this always makes me emotional. Life is so fragile, so unexpected. You never know what's going to happen with you. We are all so close to being in position. It's just unbelievable. It's frightening. And it makes me happier with my life that I am not in that situation. It makes me grateful. And I remember these kind of encounters and many other that, for instance, I have through my work with disabled people that makes me appreciate my life just a bit more, even when I'm in hard situations. And when it comes to these conversations, I know many of you are very hesitant to engage in any kind of way with people around you, and I understand that. I'm usually not the one who is approaching first. And many of these interactions can be just rubbish interactions that you don't want to go through. I get that, but many of these interactions can also be meaningful. They can be meaningful connection. And not every connection or interaction needs to be planned through networking or social gatherings. Many of these memorable conversations are going to happen just by accident. I'm sure you have examples of the conversations that meant to you, that stayed with you, that happened by accidents. Maybe the secret is just being open to these moments. Sometimes people we meet just for 5 minutes can remind us how interesting the world really is. And if you had a strange, heartwarming, interesting, funny encounter in London, and I'm sure you did, I would love to hear it. So go to No Weaklings Club social media, anywhere on my social media, and let me know. You can write under this week's episode post, or you can just DM me if you don't want everyone else to hear about it. That's also fine with me. While you're already there, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much. That's helping me a lot.
Like and subscribe, please.
And right here, I'm going to be finishing this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the upcoming events episodes and join them if you can. Until the next time we talk, I'm wishing you all the best and I'm sending you loads of kisses. Bye!